Video number 2, I'm just going to roll right into it. Thank you so much for tuning in and sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome back. If you have, my intention is unity and oneness and the highest levels of love light. I'm just going to go into a little flow. So this is video number 2. The first video that I did, I just gave an energy update about the changes that are going on that I see and feel from my own perspective. And we'll kind of see where this goes. This will probably be a word play, maybe a little light language. I'm being guided to talk a little bit about how I play with words and the reason I do it in this way. I get these downloads as I walk, well, quite frequently all the time. Sometimes when I'm walking, sometimes when I'm writing, sleeping, whatever it might be. And the biggest message that comes through every single time is let go, lighten up. And this has kind of been the theme in general of my whole life, but I think many of us can relate, right? And what happens is I am being guided to literally shift the way the words are utilized in our English language, but also in our ancestral languages and tones that come through to mix, intermingle, play, and interact with the living light codes that we are all speaking, that we all are thinking, that we are all expressing. It can be through form, art, movement, patterns, sound, harmonics. And so what happens is, even today, as I was kind of walking meditation and I was having all these messages come through, my guides are like, and my guides, aka me, right? My higher version, I talked a little bit about this in the previous video. They're like, just loosen up. Don't worry about what this means right now. Trust that the information holds a frequency and vibration that then allows the energy to spin in your environment and in your body and through your vocal cords and through your expression into the fabric that you are creating and weaving. And so that's why oftentimes these messages they sound crazy, but when you feel into them, they have a certain frequency. And it's based on a multidimensional accelerated form of communication that we can all do. And this is just my style of doing it. So without further ado. So today's download, by the way, was all about the lungs. So I'm being guided to expand on that a little bit, pun intended. So as we breathe into our space, as we allow ourselves to breathe into the space that we sit within, we are not merely just breathing as a chemical or technical, I'm seeing quality. It's it allows us to express, to press, to compress, and to expel certain nutrients, and I'm seeing it's the filtration system, out into the environment that we are interacting with and communicating with. And this is a natural component that the human body has essentially bigger potential for activating. We do not necessarily understand the old, I'm seeing this combination of the old and the new. We do not necessarily understand the full functionality of this skin suit, of this technology. We are now merely stepping into, play on words, we are stepping into a higher piece of the puzzle, a higher vibratory speed and accessing rate and ratio in which we exist within. Therefore, that how we process this, what we would call fabric, how we process this interdimensionality accessing expression is shifting as well. Therefore, we invite you to be more cognizant of how you are interacting with the space around you and the space within your body. The field that you are playing within, so to speak, is playing with you. Therefore, are you passing? I'm seeing somebody passing the ball to us, and people are like, you guys, I'm seeing like a football, and somebody throws the football at you, and you're just like looking at it like, what am I supposed to do with this? Thunk. Are you going to play? It may be a game that you feel ungraceful playing. I'm seeing it's awkward for many. Yet, this awkwardness is part of the next step in retrieving these deeper abilities and compatibilities and ways of expression. For you must communicate with your body for it to communicate with you, for it is truly attuned with all of your needs. Yet we have been tuned out, so to speak. For so many, I'm seeing that we've been in the weeds. Lost. Like, we're like, where are we? Mama kuni ne mosh te kuni wenik amama kine wawaya tu makumo wae makeni nik amakune wa nana tu kune tiemo wa nana ti. The way in which you interact with your body allows you to incorporate within you the deeper layers of accessibility to the DNA that sits from one perspective within your skin suit, yet also exists out around you in all things. For all fields host their own DNA expression. For what is DNA but memories and particles, or frequencies and energies that have a set, if you will, of components that essentially communicate with the environment. Many of these proteins that interact with our system have been systematically divided. They have been separated, and I'm seeing cause and effect. And maxed out at their potential, for they cannot work at the highest capacity when they are working away from each other, so to speak, when they are not interacting in the fluid the way that they were meant to fluidly interact. And so many of us are combining these instruction sets, which is creating I'm seeing ribbons, new sets of ribbons, new sets of ribbon flavonoids. Not sure about this word. I just want to stop for a moment and say part of this interaction that I'm sharing with you guys, I started doing was to get over my fear of sharing in this way, because it's goofy, and it's like, what sometimes I will share and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm saying or what it's going to sound like, but just let it rip, and later on it makes sense, but at the time I'm just like, I can't believe that I'm saying this. So as we come into this new field of awareness, we begin to feel a new awareness. We begin to feel certain things happening in our body. We might feel into a particular set of chemicals that have been there the whole time, yet we are now recognizing them. I'm hearing accessing them and recognizing them. And we start to remember how to turn on this technology and how to tune into what has been turned on. For many of us have been under this concept that we need to rely on somebody else to turn us on, essentially. I'm seeing the remote control, and many of us believe that we are being controlled and manipulated. And while to some layers or to some level this is true, this no longer fits the entire system, meaning I'm seeing us brushing it off. Like literally I'm being shown this. Brush it off. For many of us are now operating at such a high potential, such a high, that all of those other components that were introduced into the system in the old, like I'm seeing the old building blocks and the old blockages, I talked about this in my previous video, we're outplaying them. We are not, it no longer directs us, so to speak. We have changed our direction and we are being invited. I'm literally seeing, I'm seeing, let's just call them parts that, things that were introduced in the body that were not natural. I'm seeing that them responding to us. So it's basically, let's say you have a robot and the robot dictates to the other robots how to operate, and that's the mama bot, the mama robot. But because she was the strongest and her signal was the strongest. But what I'm being shown is we've now I don't know what the right word is, but override. So we've overridden, we're overwriting that control system. And so essentially that control system is just going to sleep. It's shutting down and it's being absorbed by the system and being integrated into a higher harmonic, because it's literally what was meant to fry our system from one perspective, we are now frying it. And I'm hearing delicious. I'm literally seeing a fried egg. So when you fry an egg, you use it for, if you eat meat, right, you would use it for nutrition and nutrients. But what I'm being shown is essentially, for some, this is going to take a little more time because of all of the things that were introduced into their system, because they weren't following any protocol. Like I talked about this in my previous video, like some people are too rigid with their protocol and other people aren't rigid at all. And so that can break down. It can cause a temporary, what I'm hearing is a temporary breakdown of the human body. But if they get into a regimen, that's a play on words. It also has to do with the heart. So if they can get into a place where they're feeding their body love, they're staying in a place of high feeling of compassion and patience and just honoring what they need, that which has broken down will begin to come back into a divine order, is what I'm hearing. For the body and the human has been misdirected for so long that the belief structure in which the human has existed within has supported the belief of the human. So therefore, all that was available was what the human believed was available. And now that all has shifted and changed, so too has the availability and accessibility of higher forms of, I'm seeing communication, travel, interaction, healing, technology, everything. Because now we believe, but I'm being guided to share that it's we know. It's like, be still and know. So by us going into our body, we know. I know that I need to work on my stomach for whatever reason. For example, but if you are in a place where this does not resonate because you are in a state of confusion, and we might say temporal illusion, and this can be temporary, you can seek the guidance or the assistance of others who are operating from this higher potential. You will be drawn to them and they to you, for this is a collaboration that is essentially a celebration of, look what I can do, so can you. I'm hearing, what's that song, anything I do, you do, I can do better? It's the other way around. It's just a beautiful collaboration of anything that I'm doing, you can do it better, and vice versa. And I think Jesus said that too in the Bible. And this allows us to share our codes with each other in a much more versatile way. And it allows us to map into these deeper spaces of knowingness and higher revelations and higher revealings and higher subsequent building blocks of material from one perspective. And I'm hearing we're bringing in this into our material. It's materializing in front of us. Certain concepts and things that have been floating in the ether from one perspective, in the Ethernet, waiting to be seen, waiting to be acknowledged, waiting to be spelled out so that they could exist in harmony with us. This can be relationships, friendships. This can be connecting to ancestors and loved ones that may have left a particular dimensional playing field at one juncture. This can be connecting into different planetary extensions of us. This can represent different numbers that never were thought to have existed, yet there they were in the thought construct of a higher harmonious architecture of brain alchemy, because they are, were, and will be. This could represent itself in the form of abundant. I'm seeing like all these things on earth that we didn't know existed because they couldn't be shown, because we couldn't see them, because we didn't believe that they were there. And this may seem and sound very mythological. It's my still running. I'm hearing it's mythology, and it may sound very magical, and that may be the structure and reality of which you believe you are attached to and playing from. And so therefore, your view of these things may not be the same as another who can see the bigger picture. And that's okay. For we are all each choosing to play in our own way with our own construction sets, if you will. Yet we are constructively assisting one another to build on their individual construction sets by us interacting in a positive, open, loving, expansive, harmonious, accepting way. And I'm seeing there's some that are like, no, you don't want that construction set. I'm seeing somebody take their hands and push the building blocks away and then give them their building blocks and say, here, play with these. But what I'm being shown is that's not going to necessarily fix the problem. That only leads to confusion and missed opportunities for growth. Because what I'm being shown instead is two people sitting down at a table playing together with their own set of building blocks, and then looking at them and going, oh, I didn't see that color before. Where'd you get that one? And then us saying, here you go, you can have mine. And then I'm getting emotional right now. and then you add, then they put that in and it changes the whole shape of their reality. And then they go, well, how did you do that? And you can say, well, I have this set, but I got it because of this, that, and the other thing. And then they might decide to take that old set and put it away. And then I'm showing, or then, here, let me show you. Or would you like to see how I did this? Or maybe that doesn't happen at all and they get up and walk away because they don't want to play at all. And we go, okay. And I'm just being shown somebody sitting there waiting, and then the next person comes up and says, what are you playing with? This has to do with everything. And this is a new accessibility and responsibility to be able to show the ability to respond to others in a peaceful way. For others will not understand how to play. They will not understand that they have the option to play. Some will be categorically in complete and total shutdown mode. And I'm hearing categorically inaccessible and in denial. So being aware that not pushing on that. That's their, and that could shift, by the way. What I'm being shown is that could shift in a heartbeat. They could have something happen where they totally break down, where their physical body totally breaks down, where their life breaks down, and all of a sudden, everything that they didn't believe in before, it could be a near-death experience, it could be a total, and then all of a sudden, I'm hearing, ah, where we never thought that person or group of people would ever come to that point. But what I'm being shown is, again, letting go of the need to think that that's what's going to happen for them. Do not put our, like, oh, I feel so sorry for them that they don't know what reality really is. That's a projection of our belief onto how we feel they should believe, and just being aware of that. And then if that comes up for us, notice how that feels in our body. I'm being guided to really talk about that. When we're feeling sorry for someone because of their belief structure, how does that make us feel? And then check in with the body and see where we're holding that. We might be holding that in our, there's so many different ways of looking at this. So, for as we interact with this structure that we are encased within from one perspective, that we are fluidly interacting with, we remember that each an individual protein and each individual cell has its own consciousness from one perspective. And your body is a walking collective consciousness. Therefore, you are the collective in so many ways. Just as water is a collective of consciousness, and there are different aspects of the water. I'm seeing that sometimes it's frozen, and sometimes it's fluid, and sometimes it's moving into a different state of being. Its original form still is connected to a collection of consciousness from one perspective. And the more we recognize this, the more we realize how rigid we have been. And it allows us to, I'm seeing us hug ourselves, like, oh, it's okay that we were that rigid before. Or it's okay I felt this way about myself, or that person, or that circumstance. I got some people I need to call. I just realized. Oh boy. What I'm being shown is we might have this intuition. I talked a little bit about the intuitive space. If you've got this feeling to pick up a phone and call somebody, even if it's somebody that you haven't talked to in years, it might be that they're opening up and you're being drawn intuitively to connect with them. Not to tell them that they were wrong or right, but just to say, I'm here for you. And I'm being shown because a lot are in a state of real confusion because they aren't aware something's happening. And they're just like, what is this? And they just need someone else who's holding a space of interaction that isn't caught up in the same whirlwind that they might have been caught up in. Like they're ready to leave that reality and those particular building blocks, but they don't know how. They don't know how to speak. They don't know what to talk about. They don't know who to talk to. And it might just be they just need somebody to sit there and hold their hand and just be like, you're going to be all right. Everything's going to be all right. And I'm hearing, don't forget the power of human touch. Obviously, if someone is asking for a hug, we don't have to push it on someone. But what I'm showing is there are a lot of humans who are not having any form of contact with one another. And that goes further to they're not feeling in touch with their body. Like if you've got a sore, I'm being shown tapping, just tap. I'm being shown rub your skin, right? I'm being shown the knees, like tapping the knees a little bit. Opening up these points and just feel into the body and feel into, I'm hearing the body composition. So thinking about what am I made of? I know this sounds so basic or simple, but we have overcomplicated things so much that we're moving back into simplicity. And we can't move back into simplicity if we're not doing the things that are necessary to be in that space. And I'm just being shown untying the knots and feeling so far away when in actuality it's coming back to home base. So I'm being shown you're tapping on the knees and you're thinking, wow, these are bones. Wow, what are bones made out of? Wow, go online, look up what the inside of a bone looks like. Look up what the body looks like inside of it. And close your eyes when you're doing it and feel. I do that all the time. And even if I'm working with someone, especially if I'm working with someone, for all of us who've done healing work on others, I say healing work on others, for all of us who have opened up a space where we have connected into and allowed that person or helped that person heal themselves by creating that connectivity is really what's going on. Oftentimes I see a part of their body that's maybe out of balance. I'll see a particular structure within, let's say, the pelvis, and I might say, okay, I think you've got something going on with your right hip. But I see it and I visualize taking my energy, connecting in with their energy, combining forces, and moving into that space to literally light it up. So I'm saying this because many of you, this is something to start utilizing. I then expand it and I'll see and move it with my perception. I'm perceiving it, my extrasensory connection to the fabric of the human body, for example, and then I'll move it through. That doesn't mean, again, I'm hearing in that, if that's what you're doing, beautiful, but let go of the expectations. It doesn't mean it's going to fix it. It doesn't mean it's going to solve it, but it does mean that it's literally sending attention, focus, energy there to that space, which assists sometimes in just a deeper connection to the body or the emotional connection or the attachment of the energy that's been stuck there. It might be all of a sudden that person has a memory that comes up, and it might be that they fell and were told that they were stupid when they fell when they were 3 years old. And all of a sudden, it's stuck right there in the hip. Energy goes somewhere. It doesn't just disappear. So we're really being invited to tune into that right now. And if you are in that space where you don't know how, ask. I'm here. A lot of other people are here. There's so many of us out there working together, and we're doing it each in our own individual, unique way, right? It might be that you go to your local Reiki practitioner, or you go and get a massage, or you have a session with an intuitive who can essentially, you might want to do a past life regression. By the way, past life regression isn't just about the past, right? It's healing what comes up in the now moment when we project our energy into that space from one perspective. So I'm going to end on that note. And again, and I have others that I connect with that I can share with you if you're interested in any of that. I do have a huge group of people that I work with in the spiritual community that I subscribe to on YouTube and Instagram, and I'll be happy to list some of the people that I've worked with before and some of my sisters and brothers. Anyways, on that note, in love and light, guys, thank you so much. Tune into that body. It's going to be a different tune than maybe what we're used to hearing, feeling, and experiencing. And it can take a little time for that to acclimate, and link up in a fluid kind of way. So, in love and light, namaste.